Formula One is bracing for a storm that could change everything. The FIA's battle with Audi and Honda has erupted into open conflict, and the 2026 engine plans are right at the heart of it. What was supposed to be a smooth transition into the sport's next era has instead turned into a bitter standoff, with accusations, threats, and power plays dominating behind closed doors. Audi's bold push and Honda's defiance are colliding head-on with the FIA's vision, leaving everyone wondering who will blink first. Could this war decide the balance of power in the next generation of Formula One? Every Formula One team has now turned its gaze to the storm on the horizon, the seismic 2026 regulation overhaul. Red Bull's newly unveiled floor upgrade might just stand as the final aerodynamic masterstroke of this season, with only 8 race weekends left before the curtain falls. But the real drama isn't on the track. It's in the laboratories and factories where the sport's most ambitious gamble is being forged. The upcoming power units, jaw-droppingly expensive and fiendishly complex, are creeping closer by the day, and already whispers suggest the FIA's grand vision could spiral into chaos before a single light goes out. Pre-season testing in late January looms like a trial by fire for the next generation of V6 turbo hybrids. The manufacturers, gripped by a fear of public humiliation, have leaned on the FIA to keep the first 5 days in Barcelona cloaked in secrecy, branding it a private affair. Yet history tells us that even the tightest doors cannot keep out determined eyes, and somewhere, somehow, the world will get its first glimpse of what's really coming. The biggest storm cloud hanging over Formula One right now isn't tyres, aerodynamics, or even team politics. It's the looming question of electrical power in the 2026 regulations. Under the new rules, the electric systems are expected to provide a staggering 50% of the car's total output, with the internal combustion engine playing second fiddle. That shift has set off alarm bells everywhere. Red Bull's own simulations back in the summer of 2023 painted a chilling picture. On certain circuits with minimal braking zones, the cars could simply run out of charge. The nightmare scenario? Drivers forced to short shift on the straights just to crank up the revs, not for speed, but to turn the ICE into little more than a rolling generator keeping the electrical system alive. So serious were the concerns that the FIA and Formula One management convened an emergency summit in Bahrain earlier this year. Nothing was off the table. One option: rip up the 2026 plan entirely and stick with today's power units until something workable could be designed. Another: cut back the electrical contribution from 50% to a more realistic 35 to 40%. The most radical idea: make the new engines a temporary experiment, lasting only 3 years before Formula One returns to a simpler yet ferocious V8 paired with a KERS-style hybrid. But rewriting the rulebook this late comes with political landmines. Any such move requires a supermajority in the F1 Commission, with F1, the FIA, and nearly all manufacturers on board. The cost factor alone adds pressure. V8-based power units would cost roughly a third of the eye-watering $20 million customer teams currently shell out each year. The question now is whether the sport will charge headlong into an uncertain hybrid future, or slam the brakes and pivot back to the raw power fans have been craving. After the deadlock in Bahrain, FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem made his next move, summoning the original engine manufacturers to London for what was billed as a decisive summit. At the heart of the agenda was a drastic proposal: cap the lifespan of the 2026 power units to just 3 seasons before sweeping in a new era. Cadillac, slated to run Ferrari engines in 2026, had little stake in the matter. Its official status as an OEM doesn't kick in until 2029, making it clear they're waiting for the rumoured V8 revival rather than investing in a short-lived hybrid gamble. But when Saturday rolled around at the Italian Grand Prix, the meeting was abruptly shelved. The reason? A lack of backing for the FIA's controversial plan. Formula One, it seems, is choking on the weight of its own ambitions. This is the sport that, in 2017, set up a special working group with the grand vision of creating an engine formula irresistible to new manufacturers. Yet the reality is painfully ironic. The very goals that were meant to draw fresh blood are now driving the grid into a crisis of confidence. For Red Bull, the memories remain raw, locked in a fruitless marriage with Renault's underpowered units, abandoned by Ferrari and Mercedes, and left stranded while Honda was tied up in an exclusive McLaren deal. They know better than most the perils of being cornered. Add to that the scars from the 2007 financial crisis, when manufacturers fled the sport in droves, and the stakes of this debate become clear. Formula One's grand vision for the future may yet collapse under the weight of history repeating itself. The FIA's Grand Working Party, once heralded as the beacon of Formula Formula One's future, stumbled hopelessly out of step. Endless debates and political wrangling meant no agreement was reached on the new power unit structure for 2020. The promised revolution slipped into delay after delay, with the 2021 deadline passing in silence. Backed into a corner, the FIA scrambled to salvage credibility by turning its focus to chassis regulations instead, unleashing the sweeping 2022 car designs. Meanwhile, the engine debate was kicked further down the road, with 2026 set as the new line in the sand. What was once billed as a bold leap forward had become a saga of hesitation, compromise, and lost time, leaving Formula One's future hanging on a deadline that now feels less like progress and more like a last chance. As Liberty Media took control of Formula One's commercial rights, the sport was suddenly propelled into the modern era. With Netflix's drive to survive acting as the rocket fuel, coupled with savvy digital marketing, F1 experienced a renaissance, drawing in millions of new fans across the globe. Manufacturers, sensing the gold rush, lined up eagerly to plaster their brands across the world's fastest billboard, desperate to link their road car technology to the glamour and drama of Grand Prix racing. Yet amid this surge, Honda dropped a bombshell in 2020. They would quit Formula One. The decision blindsided Red Bull Racing, who were left staring into the abyss once again, shackled by the uncertainty of having no engine partner. Christian Horner's response was incendiary. He demanded a return to the iconic V8's power units that, thanks to their relative simplicity and affordability, could even be built in-house by Red Bull or by independent suppliers. From the ashes of that crisis came Red Bull powertrains, born out of necessity. And then, in a twist that stunned the paddock, Honda reversed course, suddenly declaring that the sport's push toward electrification aligned perfectly with their corporate vision. What was meant to be a short 5 to 7 year life cycle for the V6 turbo hybrids ballooned into a scandalous 12-year stretch, an unprecedented delay that exposed Formula One's inability to move forward with decisiveness. What was once meant to be innovation now looked like inertia. The net result of years of wrangling is depressingly familiar. Formula One remains locked into the same V6 turbo hybrids, power units despised by fans for their muted, soulless sound. To make matters worse, the shift to biofuels in 2026 will send costs skyrocketing, with teams projected to spend up to $35 million annually on engines, lubricants, and fuel alone. A situation bordering on the absurd has finally united F1 boss Stefano Domenicali and FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem, who both agree the current direction is unsustainable. Yet, Honda and Audi are holding the line, flatly refusing to entertain either alterations to the design or a shortened lifespan for the next generation of engines. The Concord Agreement sets a brutal reality. The engine cycle is locked in for 5 years. That means the earliest fans could hear the return of lighter, cheaper, and more exhilarating power, possibly a modernized V8 with sustainable fuel, would be 2031. Toto Wolff himself admitted at Monza that the consensus among teams pointed towards V8s as the perfect balance, naturally aspirated, high-revving, visceral, and still compatible with modern energy recovery systems. We are all sharing the objective to have the best possible spectacular regulations to attract fan interest, he said, before underlining the manufacturer's united stance against a dual-cost program that would force them to develop a brand new engine only to replace it again within 2 years. The irony is that Cadillac faces exactly that dilemma. Slated to debut as an official power unit supplier in 2029, they would be investing millions into a project destined for the scrap heap by 2031. For a sport obsessed with cost control and sustainability, the contradictions are glaring. What was supposed to be a bold leap into the future risks becoming yet another chapter of waste, frustration, and lost spectacle. Audi's team boss, Jonathan Wheatley, spelled it out with crystalline clarity. Fundamentally, there were 3 pillars that Audi set their entrance into Formula One, he explained. One was a highly efficient engine, another was advanced hybrid technology and sustainable fuels. I don't think our position has changed on that. As far as I know, we're going to stay in that position for a very long time. For Audi, compromise would mean betraying the foundations of their entire F1 project. Faced with that level of intransigence, the FIA may find that patience is its sharpest weapon. If the new power units deliver even a fraction of the problems many insiders predict, unreliable energy recovery, spiraling costs, cars running out of charge, the storm from fans and promoters alike could be ferocious. To soften the blow, F1's governing body has floated a controversial catch-up mechanism, allowing manufacturers whose engines are more than 3% down on power to be given avenues for rapid development. The aim is clear: avoid a repeat of the 2014 debacle, when Mercedes unleashed an era of domination fueled by a war chest reportedly 6 times larger than their rivals. Do you think Formula One should push ahead with the risky 2026 hybrid engines, or scrap the plan and bring back the raw V8 power fans have been waiting for? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, bye for now.